Hi everybody, welcome to C2C Mentors. This is Pooja here, and today I have with me two students from the batch of 2023 from IIM Calcutta, Garima and Venkatesh. Welcome on board, both of you. Thank you so much for taking out time for this session, and we are here to listen to their amazing conversations about their PA experience and also life at IIM Calcutta, of course. So, Garima and Venkatesh, why don't you start by just introducing yourself? You always have a beautiful profile, so maybe you can start introducing yourselves one by one. Garima, you can go ahead first.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Garima Satija, and I've done my undergrad from Hindu College, Delhi University, and I'm a fresher, and I got admitted at IIM Calcutta for the batch of 23. I'm going to be doing my summer internship at Procter and Gamble as a brand management intern, and yeah, so I'll be sharing my PI experience with you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Venkatesh, you can go ahead.
Sure. Hello everyone. My name is Venkatesh Balamkonda. I did my undergrad from IIIT Jaipur with a specialization in computer science. Well, after that, I worked for 18 months with a company called Darwinbox, a recently turned unicorn, as a sales ops analyst and led the function there. After that, I got admitted to IIM Calcutta, and yeah, I'll be interning with Rickett Benkaiser as a sales and marketing intern. Looking forward to have good conversation and all the interactions with you.
Absolutely. So we have a great diversity on board today. One from engineering background, one from non-engineer, one with WorkX, one without WorkX. So why don't you guys share your PI experience so that all our viewers can learn about how should they go about preparing for their Calcutta interviews? We can start with maybe Venkatesh. You can go ahead with your PI experience.
Sure. Well, just to begin with my, just a heads up, my professors, the professors in my panel were completely diverse kind of, had a different and very diverse kind of experience altogether. Like one was a professor from an OB and the other one was from marketing. I think Garima, you two had the same panel, right? So yeah, like we had an interesting fact actually. Garima had a first interview, and just after that, I had my interview. So that was a coincidence there. But yeah, just to get about the nitty-gritties and how the interview altogether went was. They are as a typical thing. I entered the room. They asked me to introduce myself. I began with telling them about how did I start off, like with respect to my engineering, and how did I end up towards as an analyst, and why did I like to work with people and probably work with the process and all. And I got an opportunity to drive the interview in terms of my convenience, right? Like they gave me an opportunity to shape the direction and gave me the driver's seat and asked me to drive it however you want. So I took this opportunity and probably worked them around all my strength. That's my work experience. Since I had like an 18 months of experience, but still it was very strong in my CV. I thought like that is the way I could push it off. We spoke about we spoke about some projects in which we had a larger impact at a global scale. We spoke about the supply chain impact in the work experience altogether. Some questions around my computer science, like why exactly a shift from a computer science towards a management. And at the end of the day, some questions around my BTech project. I did it in supply chain management. So they took a question around there. Why did I do that? Some follow-up questions on the basis of that. And yeah, and the interview went really well. At the end of the day, I asked about how do we network with all those great alums of IIM Calcutta, and the prof said once you are in the campus you'll get to know. And that I thought that was kind of a signal that hey, you will be getting into it. So that was about it.
Yeah, beautiful. Why don't we hear from you, Garima, and then move ahead?
Yeah, so talking about IIM Calcutta, actually having the same panel worked out really well for me, because as Venkatesh also mentioned, the introductory part is where you get the opportunity to drive the entire interview in your favor, and basically all the questions that they ask then sprout out from whatever you say in your introduction itself. So that is a very good opportunity that you need to take, advantage of, and you need to have a story. That is what I learned during preparing for my GDPI, that you need to have a story for whatever experience you've had throughout your life. Like, yes, you have done a non-engineering stream or a non-management stream, and now you want to get into an MBA stream. So you need to have a story that why you're leaving. Like, I've done physical science with chemistry, so you need to have a story for that. I dropped out after graduating for 1 year and prepared for CAT. So I had a story that what I did for that 1 year. So that is one thing that worked out in favor for me. But mostly my CV highlighted a lot of marketing, brand management, and certifications, and my internship was also in the same respect. So this is one thing that really worked out for me in the IIM Calcutta interview process, because one of the professors was actually a marketing professor, and he asked me a lot of questions about brand management, and I knew a lot about it. So yeah, that worked out for me. But yeah, we cannot always hope that that is the case. So we should always have a diverse set of knowledge and not just try to focus. Like, if I have an engineering background, I should not expect the panel to only talk about academics or my engineering topics, but I should know fairly well about whatever's going around, current affairs, and about finance, about business news, politics, everything that is there to know about. So yeah, that was my generic experience.
Beautiful. So many of our aspirants, many of the call getters are really worried about how they will justify gap year. So guys, we have a live example of Garima. She is into IIM Calcutta. It's very much manageable. How did you justify your gap year, Garima? What certifications, or did you have any experience to justify? How did you go about it?
Yeah, so I justified it by saying, as in my gap year, I undertook a lot of certifications pertaining to marketing, which was the field I was interested in. So that is how I actually justified it. And I told them that CAT being a very difficult exam, I wanted to give it the time that it required, and I wanted to clear it in a single attempt. So I gave it proper time. I did not take up any other activity or any other job for that matter. And I gave my entire attention to that particular exam. And I also did the certifications, which I was really interested in. So that is how I justified managing my time. Some people also try to talk about that they traveled, they had this experience and that. So anything that you've done, if you can credibly shape it up, I think that will work out for you.
Absolutely. And when it comes to academic questions, how do we see them different for freshers than from WorkX guys? So what is more weightage given to, is it your academics or is it your WorkX projects? How is it different for both of you?
Okay, Venkatesh, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. So for me, at least in Calcutta, they didn't ask me more on, they didn't have more focus on the academic questions. They asked like a couple of them just to understand how my computer science background would have, and whether I'm in touch with my computer science background or not. But in general, with respect to the other interviews, there is a good set of focus with respect to what academic background you have and whether you have a proper touch with it or not. Even if it's a fresher, probably if it's a fresher, I think there will be more alliance and more depth into that. But if you have a work experience of say 2 or 3 years, probably that intensity would be would be less, I would say. And yeah, Garima, you can take it up with respect to the freshers part.
Yeah. So he's accurate in saying that academics holds a larger weightage for a fresher, because that is what you've done quite recently, and professors or interview panel needs to know whatever time you've spent in your college, you've not just wasted that, and you've actually given that amount of attention or time to your academics, that you were listening and you remember all of those concepts. So what they do is they go through your mark sheet and they pick out any random subject that you had this particular subject in your term 3. Can you solve this question for me? So the questions are not really very hard. They are very, very basic questions. And for IIM Calcutta specifically, everybody knows, even we were told a lot of times that it is a finance campus. So it is very, very important that people know maths, integration, differentiation, which was a true nightmare for me, but I did practice that. However, I had, I lucked out. So they asked me questions on chemistry, which were very easy for me. So yeah, so you need to be fairly in touch with your academic background, which is more important for an engineer, knowing all about maths concepts.
So were you also asked as a integration differentiation questions?
No, I was asked chemistry questions. I don't know about Venkatesh.
Yeah, like a couple of friends were asked some questions on the differentiation and integration, but yeah, there is a lot of focus on the statistics part of it. Uh, just a pro tip: do revise all your statistics part and all. They definitely like to drill you and on that particular part.
So maybe we can just tell our viewers to brush up their concepts of the DILR section. That would that work?
Probably a little bit more, like just
Okay.
understand how data set works, what is mean, what is an average, how does the median work, and a little bit nuances of the quartile functions and all. That should help.
Great, great. Great. And Venkatesh, you mentioned during your experience that you were asked to justify why a shift from an IT or technical background to a management field, right? So how did you go about justifying that? Because many of the students are in a dilemma that how do they justify this jump, or how do they bridge the gap? So how did you go about it?
Right. So I was on. I did an engineering from computer science background. So technically, people expect that you will go towards software engineering or an IT or so things like that. But I always wanted to get into the management stream. So I took a simplest route which I could get closer towards management. In my BTech, as my major project, I did take up supply chains project, and I worked on the supply chain design of the Indian agriculture and wrote a research paper about that. That thankfully it got published in an international conference, and the other co-authors and me were invited to go and speak about it in Sri Lanka and all. So that was a story for me, right? Like, hey, I was interested in computer science, but yes, there's a story for supply chain and other things which I'm really interested in. And eventually after that, that built up my story, and it helped me in my job as well. So I went on to work with a firm called Box as an analyst there, not as a CS kind of a guy, rather a business kind of an analyst. Worked on a couple of projects which were entailing towards management things. So eventually, you need to build a story, right? Like you need to know why exactly why are you shifting. You need to have a clarity of thought, and you need to understand why exactly you're doing and what are the consequences of that. So probably if you can build a story around that, that should be good enough.
Great. And also we have a commonly asked question is that what is the trade-off between academics and extracurriculars? So some students have really low marks in one of maybe 10, 12 or graduation. So how do they go about justifying it? And how much weightage is given to acads and extracurriculars during interviews?
I could take that up because, well, I'm on the lower end of the acads. But yeah, to be honest, IIM Calcutta is known to, wash away all your sins if you have bad experience with your acads, right? Like I had like just about 65% in my BTech, but they thankfully called me to the interviews, and I aced it. It's important why like they expect that if during your graduation, they expect that you spend your time wisely, either with respect to the acads or either with respect to your extracurriculars. So if you're doing, if your acads are getting a hit because of the extracurricular activities, you should show the impact of the work you have done in the extracurriculars. Or if you have taken a shot at academics and you're trying to increase that, then probably a less extracurriculars also can define you, can define it's like worth the time. So at the end of the day, it's a story of how do you pitch it and what did you do with respect to your time during the undergrad and all. Yeah.
Right. And does it have a hit or does it have a disadvantage during your summer internships or maybe placements?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Like if it's a consulting kind of a firms, they try to look out a very balanced kind of a CV. If you are into product management or a general management kind of a thing, they look at an overall work ex and how did you build up the leadership qualities. And if you look at marketing or an ops, or rather specifically marketing, they look at the bottom heavy CVs, right? Like your extracurriculars, your leadership qualities more when compared to the academics. So that's a trade-off, like eventually how you want to build your story.
Right. So this is all about the acads and work ex part. Let's move to the current affairs. How should students go about preparing the current affair topics, and what maybe you could suggest a few topics, and how should they go about preparing?
Yeah, so for the current affairs, what I noticed during my GDPI process was that you need to know a lot about one particular topic, which includes business, politics, sports. You pick one, pick whatever you like, and you need to not know a lot about one of those. And in general, you need to know about everything about everything, which is the ideal case. So you need to know about the general stuff, what is going on in every field. But if you pick one of the things, like one of the interview questions, which is very common, is do you read the newspaper? Which section of the newspaper do you read most often? So you can go about if you are reading politics, that investing that much time in the politics aspect of it, you can talk a lot about it, and that gives you a certain edge. But if you say that I just read the Hindu, and that is a generic newspaper which you are expected to know, right? So one added advantage in your current affairs part would be if you know a lot about one particular topic. So that is one pro tip that I wanted to give you.
What would be your take on it?
Like what I think is that they want to know you as a person, and they want to know if you know your society in general. Like many times it happens that the professor would ask you, tell us or suggest some places to eat food in particular city where you hail from. People don't know how to answer that kind of a thing. Like, or if they ask why your city is famous for, they don't know to answer. So all they need, I mean, all they expect is that basic understanding of your society or the place you're living, and a quick information or a generic idea about various segments of the society is what they expect. So
Right.
yeah.
If I'm sorry, I'm cutting in, but this is, I think I forgot to say. So what happens is that in a current affairs question, nobody really expects you to know in depth everything, but they expect you to have an opinion about things that are going around. So like in my Calcutta interview, they asked me questions about the farmers protest, but everybody knew about the farmers protest at that point. But my question lining did not end there. So they asked me that if the farmers that they're protesting, is that a brand, right? So we were talking a lot about brand management, as I mentioned. So they asked me that if the farmers that are protesting, do they make up a brand, and what is their positioning, what is their message that they're trying to give out, and what is your opinion on it, right? So you need to have an opinion on everything that is going around, and not just know the headlines. So yeah, that is something that is important here.
Stay right between the lines.
Right.
Absolutely. So what would be your suggestion or tips to all the viewers regarding Calcutta interview? How do they prepare from now till the Calcutta interview? So anything particular for Calcutta in specific do they need to keep in mind?
Maths.
Well,
I think study maths. If you're weak at it, please study maths. Please study the newspaper regularly. Have a couple of hobbies that you can talk about non-stop, and somebody literally has to stop you to, stop you from talking about it anymore. And if they ask a lot of questions, you should have an answer for everything, or have the ability to make up an answer for everything. And you should know your profile through and through. So anything that you say in your introduction, any word that you mention in your introduction, you should know everything about that. So if you say that you're from Hindu College, University of Delhi, you should know who is the current dean, who built, when was it established, everything about Hindu College, everything about University of Delhi, everything about Calcutta if you're interviewing for IIM Calcutta, and about IIM Calcutta. So yeah, that is the gist of it.
well, I would say that just have a clarity of why you're doing MBA, right? People don't have a clarity of why are they entering towards the management stream, and what they want to do, or what are they gonna, like what are they expecting from the MBA. They even don't know about that. So it's better to have a good introspection about that, and probably pitch it in a way which professors can understand, probably can debate, probably can argue on that. That makes more sense, and probably try to have a conversation with the professors rather than just being a question and answer kind of a thing. And second thing, yeah, just know about IIM Calcutta, especially Jetty or Monty, or all the fests we have right over here. That actually helps.
What would you like to share about IIM Calcutta? I mean, it's been a year now. You are at this side of the table. you were on that side, you were interviewing, and now you're advising students how to prepare for interviews. How does it feel? How is life at Calcutta? Have you been to the campus, or how is it going?
Life at Calcutta actually is a dream come true for everyone who wants to, spend their lives on their own terms. So it's not like you will not be, having the pressure of the academics, of the placements, of everything. But once you're at campus and once you see everybody running to achieve the same thing that you are trying to achieve, it becomes easier. The journey becomes easier when once you're at campus at IIM Calcutta, and you can actually call it home because it is such a beautiful place. It has 7 lakes, it has jetty, it has a favorite spot for every person, and that spot is different for every person. I think everyone has a special spot to hang out at IIM Calcutta.
Yeah, like very much on the similar lines with what Garima said, but yeah, one thing I would suggest, guys, like if you have A, B, C, and calls, and if you convert all of them, go for Calcutta. Okay?
Beautiful tip. All right. Thank you so much for joining with us today, Venkatesh and Garima, both of you. Thank you for sharing your experience. It would be a great help to all the students out there. And guys, if you have any questions or any comments, just drop it in the comment box and we will surely take it up. We would love to have you both as mentors on board for more our sessions. Till then, everybody, that's all from our side. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, everyone.